Yeah, I'm Blake. I went through the program in July of 2018. That's when I started high school. Wasn't really my thing. I was pretty, I was relatively awkward, and I lacked a lot of confidence. I was ambitious, but I always felt like school was, the freedom. I mean, it was imposing on my freedom to actually like grow as a person. And so I just felt high school wasn't really my gel. I dropped out. I got my GED and I dropped out of high school. And then I went to community college for a little while, went to university for a semester. So my origin story there actually is that when I was in university, I realized every morning on my way to class that I was sinking 50 grand down the hole for something that, wasn't even guaranteed to me, which was a job, right? And I hadn't even heard about Praxis at this point. I was, I just felt like I wasn't in the right place. I remember, I was a business major and I was talking to the professor of entrepreneurship, and he was like, I'm gonna teach you how to be an entrepreneur if you wanna study this major. And I thought to myself, this is absurd. Like I'm in school learning how to be an entrepreneur. Is that really like paying all this money? Like, is that really how it's supposed to work? Why couldn't I just go get a job, and like learn on the job how to run a business, how to, build a business, how to find your customers and develop your brand and all that stuff. And so I stumbled, while I was in university, I stumbled across an article. I don't remember the name of it, it's been so long, but this guy was making the case for why college is not necessary to get to get a job. And he listed out his experience becoming a graphic designer just by learning those hard skills. And that really moved me. And I made the decision I was going to drop out. Of course, I still finished strong. I got all A's, left university because I wanted to get my money's worth in case I needed to go back. But I never looked back after that. And this was late 2016. It was early 2017. I found out about Praxis. My mom had sent me a message about it, and she said, this looks like it's for you. Like a program designed for entrepreneurial, ambitious people that don't want to go to school, that just want to get a job and like get to work. And I thought it was a scam because it just seemed too good to be true. Yeah, the final decision point, just to apply and do the program, I think I was, I was sold on the idea that maybe I was missing some connection, I was missing some instruction and some mentorship, and I was also missing like a direct pathway to like the workforce, like to. And I mean, at the time, I was really sold on the idea of working for a startup, right? And so I thought, well, this is a structured program to do that, and I might as well take advantage of that. Like, I'm probably going to do better than I would if I just tried to figure out everything on my own by myself without any help. And that was the first moment I kind of reconciled, like, sometimes it's okay to leverage a market opportunity like that, leverage a tool, leverage somebody else's knowledge to get ahead. And at the time, I think I was 19 or 20 and kind of just lost. And I felt like Praxis was a bit of a guiding light for me. So that's what made the decision for me. Yeah, the difference between Praxis and college is that, Praxis is the real deal. College is kind of just like a really outdated attempt to prepare people for, being corporate employees, corporate cogs, being kind of just conveyor belt workers. You're shuffled from class to class. You're paying all this money. I think tuition was, by the time I was looking at it back in 2017, tuition had been, I read some stat that it's like 20 times as expensive as it used to be in the 70s after adjusted for inflation, right? for university tuition, just the public state schools. The average price of a semester went from being like $500 to, or a few $100 if that, to being anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 a semester, which is just absurd to me. And so with Praxis, you're paying a lot less, but you're getting way more value. Like when I went through the program, I was really, really pushed outside my comfort zone in a way that made sense. I wasn't taking standardized tests. I was figuring out what my tests are. I was learning on my own how to think for myself, how to build a toolkit and a challenge for myself that actually made sense for me and what I wanted. So, and also, the network you get, it's way more intimate, way more serious about helping people thrive. It's a cohesive program designed to really develop and nurture those that are ambitious and maybe just need some clarity and some guidance. And you couldn't have gotten that at the university that, has job fairs maybe, and maybe you join a frat or something and you get some semblance of that, but you're still missing out on all that like really beautiful like critical thinking and development that you learn. That's what Praxis is all about, really. Like, the term praxis comes from the word praxology, which is to do, basically, right? If there's theory and then there's praxology. In college, you learn theory. In praxis, you're actually doing things. You're learning by doing. So when I went through the program at the time, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And when I was in placement, the first interview I got, I actually was pretty fortunate. I got an interview with a nonprofit who was looking for an operations coordinator, Institute for Humane Studies, which is actually the same nonprofit that Isaac Morehouse was working at when he had the idea for creating Praxis. And so, I interviewed and they hired me. I was really fortunate and blessed to have the opportunity to go to work pretty soon into placement. Getting my career launched in like the educational, academic, nonprofit world. Well connected with some of the other nonprofits adjacent to Praxis, which gave me a really good chance to meet people in that world, to kind of grow my network, and get a really solid foundation for not just like my intellectual development, but my personal development as well. Yeah, so I took kind of a interesting path. It was already interesting, I guess, to begin with, but I left the nonprofit world to work for an education startup, and I did that for a bit as a contractor. It was really hard, but really growth oriented. I learned a lot of lessons doing that. And I eventually found my way, actually through the Praxis community, into the job I'm in now. I work in real estate, private equity. I work on an investor relations team for Burgo Capital. It's they're a real estate investment firm that does multifamily apartments in the Midwest. Never thought I'd end up in real estate finance. I was fortunate because I got the job through a Praxis connection, actually. So, I just happened to be on the job hunt, and being an alumni, I knew that I had that resource to actually go back onto the community Slack at any time and see what my options were. And so that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I do a lot of sales. I work and do a little bit of marketing as well. I work with our marketing guy. I'm doing kind of a bit of a niche investor relations oriented work that's centered around raising capital for real estate funds. So it's just a really rewarding experience and an opportunity I couldn't have got without doing Praxis. And I tell people all the time, I don't consider myself to be especially intelligent or to be like an especially high agency person. I do think that Praxis selects for that. I do think that Praxis can teach you how to be high agency. But before that point, I mean, I was waiting tables, working at bars and restaurants. I'd already dropped out of college, trying to find my way on my own. And I know plenty of people out there that are smart, and maybe even a little bit ambitious, but they ended up waiting tables through the rest of their 20s. And nothing against that, but there's a good chance I'd probably still just be waiting tables. The future for me, it's really hard to say. I just know that regardless of what happens, I'm going to be probably doing something I like because I have the skill set and the toolkit to do it. Don't let anyone pressure you to do something you don't want to do. And get as much experience as you can. Like, you're young enough that you can, if you want to take a gap year, you can do that. If you want to work part-time and read books and travel the country, you can do that. Because at that age, the best thing you can do for yourself is to just get experience, get exposure, say yes to every opportunity you get, make an effort to meet people, to make connection. And then, of course, if you have the option, definitely apply for Praxis. If that's something you're considering, I'd sign up, I'd give it a shot, see if it can change your life like it changed mine.